Let's discuss how to remove a skin tag or a wart overnight. You're going to see gradual improvement every time you apply this real simple technique. And it's really only two simple ingredients. The most important thing to teach you today is not only how to get rid of it, but how to prevent it from coming back. Because a wart or skin tag is the tip of the iceberg. First question is, what is the difference between a skin tag and a wart? With a wart, you're dealing with a virus called HPV. This is why you don't want to scratch it or try to cut it off, because then it can form into a cluster. A skin tag usually occurs in areas where there's friction, like in a certain fold in your body. We're going to use the same remedy for a skin tag and a wart, and I'm going to explain why that's going to work. When we're dealing with a wart, we have to look at the triggers. You have stress that weakens the immune system. But with the skin tag, we don't really have the immune system involved. Let's first talk about insulin. Insulin is going to make things grow. When someone's insulin is too high, they're more at risk for these skin tags. And this is why there's such a higher risk for skin tags with diabetics, people that are overweight, and women who have PCOS. How do we lower insulin? The problem with insulin with most people is that the body is producing a lot more insulin because they have what's called insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is a situation where the person had high levels of insulin over a period of time, and the body is blocking that to a certain degree. As a way to compensate, the pancreas is going to make a lot more insulin. Two big reasons why people have too much insulin is they're eating too many carbs or they're eating too frequently. What's interesting about insulin resistance is that the body has a more difficult time absorbing glucose if there's resistance, because that's one of the purposes of insulin, is to help you pull in and receive glucose. When someone has insulin resistance, they have a much more difficult time absorbing sugar or glucose into the cells, because that's one of the functions of insulin, to be able to help you absorb glucose. The brain cells don't get fuel. And then over time, things get worse. Memory problems, concentration problems, early dementia. A very simple solution to this is just to give your body an alternative fuel source. Stop giving the body fuel that it can't really deal with or absorb right now. Give the body ketones, fatty acids, and protein. This way we can kill three birds with one stone. Fix the insulin resistance. What's creating it is consuming too many carbs. The body will finally get fuel that it needs to work correctly, especially your brain, and the need for insulin goes down. So now there's no reason for insulin to be high to grow things like a skin tag or a wart. So how do we do that? Very simply, lower your carbohydrates and eat less frequently. That's called intermittent fasting. Those two things would not just help you lose weight. It's going to help something like PCOS. It's going to help diabetes and normalize insulin. This way, we're getting to the actual root cause of this entire problem in the first place. Before we get into the remedy to get rid of the skin tag and wart, I need to explain one last little point. If you have a wart, you have a virus. And there's something really interesting about this virus, what it does to your immune system. This virus will come out of remission and create warts if the immune system is compromised. We talked about stress. We talked about insulin. We didn't talk about vitamin D. Yes, there are hundreds of different types of human papilloma viruses. Human papilloma virus 16 and 18 very specifically cause your vitamin D receptors to shut down. Maybe not 100%, but they downgrade the vitamin D receptor. The fact that you have the virus or the wart already means that you're probably low in vitamin D, because that's what the virus is doing. It's creating an environment where it can thrive. These viruses are very intelligent. Obviously, they know that vitamin D is the most important vitamin to control the immune system. So if they can inhibit that to a certain degree and create a deficiency in you, the virus can thrive. The immune system is compromised. It's not going to be as strong, because one of the purposes of the immune system is to kill viruses. That's interesting, because a lot more people get warts during the winter months than the summer months. I wonder why that is. Vitamin D, because there's not enough sun. Vitamin D is a very potent antiviral compound. When someone has sufficient vitamin D, they can put these viruses in remission for a very long time. The vitamin D will actually help reduce the risk of certain types of cancer, especially those related to human papilloma viruses. Just to make it really simple, I would highly recommend not taking any less than 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 every single day, especially through the winter, unless you live near the equator where you're going to get a lot of sun if you live in the north. But 10 to maybe 20,000 IUs per day would be enough to put you in a good place. We talked about the root causes. Now let's talk about how to get rid of skin tags and warts very quickly. You're going to use two remedies. One is a certain type of iodine. I recommend that you get a very specific type from the drugstore, because it'll penetrate the skin much deeper. The question is, what is this iodine doing to the skin tag? Well, it's dissolving the protein. Iodine is also very antiviral, antimicrobial. So that's why it's good for warts too. Iodine is a very powerful dehydrator as well. It's going to dehydrate the wart or the skin tag. And if you have excess estrogen, iodine is one of the most potent regulators of estrogen. This is why it's also good for things like fibrocystic breasts or ovarian cyst. Both conditions occur when you have too much estrogen. And you're also going to use garlic. You can simply just take a clove and crush it, and you just need one little drop. What's in garlic that's so special? There's a compound called allicin. This compound is super powerful against viruses. And because a skin tag is similar to a wart, and a lot of times they're misdiagnosed, we don't really know exactly which one is which. We're just going to add the garlic in there because the garlic isn't necessarily going to shrink the skin tag. It's going to mainly work on the wart. All you need to do is crush garlic, take one drop of garlic in a little dish with one drop of this iodine. Then you're going to take a little Q-tip, mix it together really nicely, apply it to the wart or skin tag tissue, and put a Band-Aid over it and forget about it. And you're simply going to repeat this every day until there's nothing left. Some people are shocked to see, even after 24 hours, how much is left. Both these remedies together are the most powerful thing that I know of to shrink a skin tag or wart. But if you're not seeing rapid change, then I would recommend something called salicylic acid, which is the main chemical in aspirin. You crush it, add a little water, take your Q-tip, apply it to the wart, put a Band-Aid on it, and just do that every single day. Other people use tea tree oil and use apple cider vinegar, or they might use castor oil, maybe oregano oil. I highly recommend using the garlic oil and the iodine as the first attempt because that usually creates the biggest impact and biggest change. Now, since we did mention something like low carb diet, if you want to know more about that, you can watch this video right here. Check it out.